This is the guy from Duck Dynasty, and the t-shirt is something about I'm a low-tech man in a high-tech world. And, you know, YouTube and Instagram are definitely high-tech compared to the golden olden days. One of my viewers, Sandan, asked me, how many clicks do I need in order to make money? And thank you, Sandan, because that gives me a chance to do another talk about gift economy. Gift economy is the vision that I'm still holding for the new planet Earth. It has nothing to do with money at all. It has nothing to do with loans, and it has nothing to do with interest rates. It has nothing to do with wages, and it has nothing to do with investments. Gift economy is the vision I have because it frees us to do the things we love to do. If you remember Kermit the Frog, well, Kermit just loves to be Kermit. He loves to sing, "It ain't easy being green." And when he's talking about green, he's talking about being a green frog. He's not talking about green money in your wallet. It's an interesting subject as well because there are all these rumors that governments around the world, in the name of controlling us further, want to get rid of paper money. And that way they can decide whether your money is going to be usable. Because if you decide you want to go into a store and buy a guitar and the government doesn't like you that day, they're going to deny the transaction and you won't be able to pay for it with paper money because they will have abolished it. That is one nasty timeline that is still being considered by those fat controllers who do nothing but sit around in their counting house counting out their money. But with a gift economy, we will be free of fat controllers and their black magic ways. So, no, I'm not looking to monetize my internet channels. I like to keep them free, and I like to continue to talk about my freedom, which is being infringed upon on planet Earth pretty much all the time. I don't like being told by anyone in particular what I need to be doing moment to moment. I am a free bird, and I quite often run up against man-made cages on planet Earth. The gift economy is something that you might learn in kindergarten. The first thing that you learn at school is share your toys with the other girls and boys. And it's very strange that all the children learn this in kindergarten. And it's pretty much when they first enter the workforce that they discover, strangely, everything they were taught from ground zero, kindergarten, about sharing doesn't apply in the world outside of schools. Why is that? Because I told you, it's about black magicians who use control structures to pen us in. Now, some of you are going to say, well, that's all fine and dandy for a 5-year-old child, but, once you reach the age of, let's start saying, I don't know, when are you starting to work at McDonald's, at 14 or 15? And, in the real world, we have to, no, we don't. It is simply because we were born on a planet where we have control structures already in place before we were born that either we play by or we don't eat. So, with the spirit of revolution, it's not communism, because in communism they used money and rationing coupons to decide, what you could get. And they had a very large black market. So it's not communism, get that out of your head, and it's not socialism, get it out of your head. Nothing to do with those philosophies. Gift economy is a higher consciousness form of society, because it is going to be, generally speaking, run through consciousness. Ungenerally speaking, it's going to be run by nothing to do with barter systems. No. Nothing to do with, some energy healers say energy exchange. In other words, I'll give you an energy healing, but you've got to give me something back. That's still barter system. No, gift economy is perhaps going to be expressed by the term namaste. Namaste is probably a Sanskrit word from India, and it is a way of greeting one another It says, the God in me recognizes the God in you. And this would be not the idea of a multiplicity of different gods, like, Greek gods or Roman gods. This would be God referring to universal consciousness, which is in me, recognizing the universal consciousness in you. And that universal consciousness is what is going to organize the gift economy. So when it's appropriate for you to need something from me, I will be right there, Johnny on the spot, and it won't be run through an app on your smartphone. And it won't be run by a brain implant. No, nothing to do with transhumanism. It's simply the consciousness knowing everything, and the consciousness, not my personal consciousness and not your personal consciousness. This is what we call the greater consciousness, the universal consciousness. So once again, it's not me dictating to you, hey, slave, come over here and cut my lawn. No. It's not ego consciousness being a dictator. No. So how is this supposed to happen? It's going to happen as we are all prompted to progressively let go of more and more ego. How's that going to happen? Universal consciousness is in charge of that. Some people say you've got to do your inner work. That is from the perspective of people who have ego, because ego always thinks it is a doer. That is the nature of ego. And if you grew up with an ego, that's what you will come to understand is true. However, when you get to higher levels of consciousness, after you've let go of a certain amount of ego, you will recognize that that was only from the ego's perspective, and from the perspective of universal consciousness, it is the one that always ran the show despite our egos. It did let your ego believe that it was doing it, universal consciousness, mostly to show you what it would be like if all egos ran everything, and the horrible nightmare that comes about from that for most people, and, the incredible disparity between rich and poor. Nevertheless, behind the scenes, universal consciousness is there, and at the appropriate wake-up time, will wake you up to the fact that it is there, and then it is going to arrange for your ego to be dropped. And once you have dropped your ego, then you will have the wondrous opportunity to observe universal consciousness arrange things in such a way that you don't feel enslaved the way that you do when you are doing a job because you need the money and not because you like the job. You will be blessed with amazing gifts that you never knew you had. When is this all happening? It's happening now. As I said in one of my earlier videos, we are on the cusp of many and many more people dropping their egos. And someone says, what can you foresee? Well, right now, it's like a bag of popcorn. You put popcorn in a paper bag and put it in the microwave. At the beginning, nothing happens, and then eventually the first kernel pops, and a few kernels pop. That's where we are now, where just a few kernels have popped, and then, as you know, not long after the first few kernels pop, then you get all kinds of kernels popping, and those kernels popping are ejecting the ego. And then you have a few stragglers, and then at the end you probably have a few kernels that don't pop, and those kernels are, generally speaking, humans who are not going to wake up. And what's going to happen with them? Well, most likely they're going to not even be part of our world anymore. In other words, they're going to be shuffled off planet to continue to be ego for whatever reason universal consciousness wants. But if you look on YouTube, there are plenty of people who are talking about spiritual awakenings, and those are the early kernels of corn that have already popped. When are you going to pop? Well, if you're watching this video, it's basically the universe giving you a wake-up call that basically now is when I'm going to start waking you up. So be mindful of that, and you might want to start looking into more and more ideas about, universal consciousness will prompt you, I'm sure. That's the way it works. I'm Kermit the Frog.